So moving forward to the next slide, really want to get into the energy composition, the energy mix of North Carolina. And so what I did was I included the past 6 years worth of data here. And this is from the US EIA. I apologize for not sourcing it. But the US Energy Information Administration provided, anybody can go find this data. And so really gives a breakdown of what's going on in North Carolina. And so what you can see from these slides is if you look at that first line is coal. And in 2015, we had about 40,000 megawatt hours, and it's declined roughly to about half at 20,000 over the past 6 years. And so, and as you scroll down, you can see natural gas has slightly increased from 2015 to now. Nuclear has remained relatively flat. And wow, you look at wind, we were no wind generation in our energy mix. It's now gone up to 546,000. As that's a renewable source, a clean source. You can go down to biomass, and then you can see there's been some fluctuation in that, some slight margin. And then really getting into the solar, at the very bottom, I broke out the solar industry. And so you can see small solar voltaics, or PVs, are at 86 and went up to 360. And then an amazing transition has taken place from our utility scale solar. We're at almost 9,000 megawatt hours being produced. And so this is, I illustrate and point this out, and hopefully you can see this, is that we've gone from having an electric mix that was really carbon footprint heavy to almost bridging into a less carbon heavy energy mix. And so that's really important as we think about sustainability and our businesses. And so if we'll go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about some of the policy changes that have really driven that. And so next slide. You can see here kind of highlight of some of the key policies. These are not all encompassing of what's going on. This is just a brief high level. Here's how we got here. We had REPS, which is energy and energy efficiency portfolio standard, which was done in 2007, and it really laid out the next few decades how investor-owned utilities needed to source their energy from renewable energy sources. And so that's really, really important to help us reduce some of that carbon emission that you see and increase some of the more renewable energy sources. In 2017, and more recently, we had a House Bill 589, which created a Green Source Advantage program, which allows businesses to source their energy from more renewable energy sources. You had a solar rebate program, which helped reduce the price to deploy solar if you were a business or a consumer. And then we also had in that bill Duke Energy incorporating additional utility scale solar. And so one thing I want to note is that when any of these policies are adopted, there's a large body of work that goes on behind the scenes involving collaboration between businesses and consumers and the different stakeholders that are involved, whether that might be the North Carolina Clean Energy Association or other key stakeholders to help us get to this point. And I will also say, when we get to a certain threshold with some of these utility scale solar, if we think about it, traditionally you had generation and it pushed all the way out to the transmission into your home, and it was a one-way power flow. And so now we're getting to a place where there's two-way power flow coming from places out in the field with utility scale solar or someone's house. And so it creates a bunch of technology challenges and opportunities for us to innovate. And so I just want to throw those two key points out there. And so then in 2018, we had Executive Order 80 from Governor Cooper, which really sought to drive some carbon reduction goals in place. Basically 40% reduction below 2005 levels. We wanted to increase the number of zero emission vehicles to at least 80,000. We wanted to have reduction in energy consumption in state-owned buildings. And we also had the governor set an order in place to create a clean energy plan. And so all those things are in progress in various points. The clean energy plan has been completed, and all the various departments and stakeholder processes that were involved in creating that. And so that's, again, ordinary citizens and businesses could have gotten involved in that. And then most recently, there's a huge opportunity for North Carolina to get involved in the offshore wind energy sector. And so basically, how can North Carolina be the offshore wind energy hub for the Atlantic coast? And also, how can we incorporate the wind energy opportunities that are off the coast of North Carolina into our existing power grid? So really exciting time to be in North Carolina and to be involved in energy. Really exciting to see the transitions that we're making to improve sustainability, to improve our carbon footprints. And so I'm kind of a generalist, and I'm going to turn it over to sort of the experts as we go through this. And so first, I also want to, before I transition, I have a few polls I want to ask you about that'll help shape some of the future comments. And so the first poll is really focused on what do you think about when you think about a clean, reliable, affordable energy future in North Carolina? Please pick your top priority for you and or your business. And so when you think about this energy transition to reduce our carbon footprints, what's most important to you? Is it that the energy is clean and that it's sourced from 100% renewables, or a good portion of it is? Is it that it's reliable, always having the ability to turn the lights on, not worrying about power outages through storms and that kind of thing? Or is affordability the main factor for you and your business? Price points, sometimes if there's technology involved, price points can go up for a brief period until there's mass adoption. So, which one of these is most important to you and your business? And we'll pause here for a brief, probably 10 seconds here and jump to the next one. Clean. It's surprising, a good mix here. It's almost 33, 33, 33, a good almost thirds. So good to see where people are at. And then the next question is going to be focused on, when you consider a zero carbon fuel source, what immediately comes to mind? So when you think about, well, how do we get to a carbon-free future for our electric energy mix? What does that look like? So is it renewables broadly, solar generation? Is it energy efficiency to reduce the amount of energy that you consume? Is it nuclear? Or is it some other mix of factors or things? So we'll pause here for another 10 to 15 seconds and see what the audience likes. Renewables, awesome. The broad, and breaking down into solar and nuclear getting equal weight behind per second, and then energy efficiency. So cool. And the last question I have for you before we transition to Mr. Marty Clayton with Duke Energy is, are you open to driving an electric vehicle if it will move us closer to a cleaner energy future for Morrisville? So would you be willing to drive an EV if it meant you could have a cleaner future for your community and for those around you in your community? Pause here. And then yes, 80% of you all who responded are open to driving an electric vehicle. So that's really exciting news. All those responses are pretty spot on with what I had anticipated seeing. So now I'm going to turn it over again to Mr. Marty Clayton with Duke Energy. It's got some good information to share with you about what Duke Energy is up to.
Emmett, thank you so much, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon. We really appreciate it. I'm Marty Clayton, and I serve as the local district manager for Duke Energy and work closely with the Chamber of Commerce and with the town of Morrisville, and have really enjoyed working with the mayor and Brandon and Kimberly in Kimberly in her new role. But also, in addition to that, we are one of the founding members, and I'm proud to say this, of the Research Triangle Clean Tech Cluster. So, Emmett, I appreciate your joining us this morning and facilitating this discussion.
And I'm very thankful for Duke Energy's engagement with the Clean Tech Cluster. So thank you for that, Marty.
Absolutely, absolutely. Emmett, your polls kind of spoke to really what we have asked and what we have heard from our customers consistently, and that is, they want a clean, reliable, and affordable energy source. That's top of mind for them. And it's a matter of how we balance the clean, reliable, and affordable, and delivering to our customers what they expect and what they want. While we have made, I think, tremendous progress in that area, I would also submit to you that there is a lot left to do. And in many ways, we are really just getting started. So that's another reason that I'm glad that you're here today, that you're a part of this discussion, that you're engaged in this discussion. This is where we need our chamber members to be involved, our businesses to be involved, because what we're putting into place from a public policy standpoint and implementing some of the things that we're looking at implementing is going to be critical, and it's going to have a tremendous impact on our customers and the affordability of energy moving forward. So I would just submit, please be engaged in the process. And again, thank you for being here today. As you can see from this slide, as I had mentioned, we've done a lot up to this point. When we look and compare to our 2005 levels, we have retired about 6,500 megawatts of coal units. We've added about 8,000 megawatts of renewable, primarily solar. As you all probably know and have heard, we are the third in the nation. North Carolina is the third in the nation in terms of installed solar capacity. And I think that's critical. That's important. Frankly, a lot of states are trying to catch up with where we are right now. And we've made significant investments in solar energy. There again, we need to do more. We need to move forward, and we've got a plan in place to do that. As you can see here from the slide, double our renewable energy portfolio in the next 5 years. There will be a tremendous emphasis on storage, battery storage, other types of storage that will help not only move us to more renewables, but will complement the renewables that we already have in place. As you all know, a lot of the challenge right now with renewables, which is, again, we are committed to investing in renewables, but also the reliable piece. It's balancing the clean piece with the reliable piece, and we've got to have a 24/7 source. So that's the part that we'll be focused on, and that'll be a tremendous focus of our grid investments moving forward. In addition, we've made a commitment to reduce our carbon emissions by 50% from the 2005 levels by 2030. We have a solid plan in place to do that. We feel good about our plans. Moving forward, our ultimate goal, 2050, we're focused on net zero carbon emissions by 2050. That again will be where we will see our greatest challenge moving forward. And there, as I would submit to you again, that's where we need your engagement, your involvement. It will include increased emphasis on renewables. Again, as I mentioned earlier, storage, and as I also mentioned earlier, there will be some technologies in place that don't exist right now in order to get us to that point. Bree, if we can go to the next slide, please. In addition, not only will we be investing in a cleaner energy economy moving forward, we'll also be investing, as I said, in a more reliable and strengthening our grid. Our customers that are coming to North Carolina, they're telling us, we cannot afford to be without power. We've got to ensure that we've got power available to us 24/7. So you will see that being a big part of our grid investments moving forward to ensure that reliability. Not only that, as you all know, and as you have seen in recent months, some of the challenges that we've seen in Texas with the grid and the not investing totally in the grid the way that we need to invest in the grid. So there will be a ever increasing focus on that, not only for reliability, but also strengthening the grid to guard against some of the cyber attacks and some of the physical attacks like weathers and storms and that type of thing. The other thing that we want to do, and is I think even more critically important, is around giving our consumers, our customers, the ability to control their energy cost. As was alluded to earlier by Emmett, up to this point, our grid has basically been a one-way system. In other words, the power was delivered to you and you had no control over how it was used, when it was used, that type of thing. We're moving forward to put more tools in your, in your hands, our customers' hands, to be able to control. And then finally, as I have spoken to a little bit earlier, it's going to be even more important as we move forward to continue to focus on investing in the grid in a way that it will complement, support a greater dependence on renewable energy sources. But in order to do that, and the analogy that I would use that may help drive this point home, it's not unlike, if you will, raising food in Eastern North Carolina. We raise a lot of our food in Eastern North Carolina, but we've got to have a mechanism to getting it to the market here where a lot of the consumers are in the triangle. We have the same challenge with our energy grid. So a lot of our renewable technology may not be here in the urban market. It's produced in the rural areas, and it's a matter of strengthening our grid and investing in our grid in order to be able to depend on that to serve our customers here in the triangle. Bree, we'll go to the next slide and I'll wrap up. Just finally, to kind of recap what we've talked about already, the path moving forward, we're committed to investing in a cleaner energy future for North Carolina. But as I have said before, that's going to depend on all of us working together to make this change, to make this transition. We will not take the eye off the reliability of our grid, and that's where we will continue to invest in a strong energy grid and focus on the things that will take us forward. The other thing that we are focused on is making sure that when our customers and businesses come to us to want to locate in North Carolina, that again, we are balancing that challenge of clean, reliable, and affordable energy that they're asking for us to deliver. And finally, I will say we cannot, as a regulated utility, take our eye off the affordable piece. A lot of our customers are still struggling, particularly coming out of the pandemic, to pay their monthly energy bill. And we have got to continue to have a strong focus on affordability. And one of the things that we can do, and Tom Delvicio and others will speak to this a little bit later on, is to continue to implement efficiency programs. And I'm excited about some of the things that Duke Energy is doing in that space. And again, that Tom and Kimberly will share with you a little bit later on. So again, thank y'all for being with us today. I look forward to the rest of the discussion.
Well, Marty, thank you for providing us with that overview of Duke Energy and its focus. You've got a lot of different things you're balancing, and I think you're doing a pretty good job of keeping your eyes on all the different priorities, from carbon neutral, moving towards carbon neutrality, making sure you have a reliable, safe, affordable grid. I mean, it's a lot of good work going on. And I just think back to our planning call on this, where as a segue, where you're talking about energy efficiency is really the first fuel source to a certain degree. It is,
Absolutely.
every megawatt you don't have to generate is a megawatt. Every megawatt you don't use is a megawatt you don't have to generate. So
Absolutely.
really good. And so kind of as we transition to Kimberly with the town of Morrisville, I kind of have another poll question I'd like to ask you all, and which is, what kinds of initiatives surrounding sustainability is your business already working towards? And so we'll do another 10 to 15 second pause here, give you all a chance to respond. Some of you all may have multiple initiatives you're working on as it relates to these, but pick one if that you think is the highest priority if you're working on multiples.
By the way, Emmett, I don't know who came up with these questions, but I like them. Good feedback.
Wasn't me. I have to all credit to the group discussion and Bree.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you,
we
Bree.
see here we've got renewable energy implementation is 53% of the audience is working on. So that's really exciting to see, and hopefully we'll have some good takeaways as we move forward in our dialogue. So next up is Kimberly with the town of Morrisville, and she's going to highlight some of the great work the town is working on. And I know everyone from the city electeds to the town electeds to the town appointeds are working really hard to make sure that this plan comes into fruition. So I'll pause here and hand it over to Kimberly.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Emmett, for that introduction. And I'd also like to, in addition to Mayor Colley, we also have Council Member Donna Fender on the Zoom call. So I just wanted to acknowledge her as well. Fantastic renewable energy supporter. So I'm Kimberly Conley. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for the town, and I'm really happy to be here today to introduce myself. And I'd like to walk you through some of the things that that we're working on. So this is in fiscal year 2021, the town council demonstrated its commitment by hiring me, and I'm very grateful for that. So I've been with the town now since the middle of November. And really broadly, the second bullet here is my my impetus is to build a program, right? Engage stakeholders like you all that are on this call today, to help promote participation and collaboration in support of sustainable practices. And it's really broad, and it's meant to be broad for now. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what we're working toward later. So when I first came on board, there were a number of initiatives that were already sort of in the queue. And those were identified as part of our Smart Morrisville strategy. And so Smart Morrisville is an opportunity for us to kind of use data and be very community focused to integrate more technology and innovation and creativity and make that available to our residents and our businesses. So as a part of that initiative, we have a solar PV project that I'm going to talk to you about today, some EV infrastructure that we're working on, and then we're also in the process of integrating a building automation system. So I'm going to talk to you about those specific initiatives. Next slide, please, Bree. So our first project, this is the town's first renewable energy project, and it's a solar PV project that we did in partnership with Southern Energy Management and Duke Energy. And so this project it's a 30 kW array. It will offset about 40% of the fire station's total electricity usage. You know, if you think about entities that use a lot of energy that are going 24/7, all days of every year, right? You're using a lot of energy at fire stations. And so that was just kind of a really obvious choice for us to use for our first renewable energy project. This project started at $62,000, but after a $24,000 approximate rebate from Duke Energy, we're at a net of $38,000, which gets us to about an 8-year payback, which is pretty phenomenal for a solar PV project. So we had a flip the switch event on June 22nd. That's what the photos are at the bottom of the page there, where we had council members and some staff members that were key in the project, as well as our Morrisville Environment and Stormwater Committee. And the young lady that you see in the picture there was our student art poster contest winner last year, and she flipped the switch for us. It was a representational switch only, but it was a really cute event, and we streamed it on Facebook. So if you want to go back and find it, feel free. It's pretty cute. Next slide, please, Bree. So we do have our public information officer helped us put together this really fabulous video. I'm not going to play it now. We're going to skip through that, but please go back and watch it later. It's about 2 minutes, 45 seconds. I think you'll enjoy it. We have some really neat drone footage on that video. So the next initiative I wanted to touch on briefly is our building automation systems. Again, this is part of our Smart Morrisville strategy. We're doing a pilot project in our public safety building. And so building automation really is an opportunity for us to optimize building HVAC, air quality, and energy consumption. And you're able to really do that by thinking about the occupants, right? And the building itself and what your goals are. So it might mean setting some temperature ranges. It might mean, for us, I think the most important aspect of building automation systems is it gives us, and I'm pointing to myself because I'm part of Public Works, it gives us an opportunity to really be at the forefront of problems that might arise, right? So that we can be in the know about things that might happen before they happen, so that we can keep our employees, you know, safe and comfortable and all of those things. So it allows us to make those real-time decisions. So we're working on optimizing energy and energy efficiency. It gives us an opportunity to monitor things using a wireless platform, which is really sort of innovative for BAS. So we're proud to be doing that work. And then finally, of course, it gives us an opportunity to be better informed as we're making these decisions. Next slide, please. We have written a scope of work, right, for a framework for an EV infrastructure and assessment study. So this is also obviously part and parcel to our Smart Morrisville strategy, since Morrisville is just so wonderfully arranged, right, with the airport and 540 and 40 and RTP. It just makes sense for us we want to be as intelligent as possible as we're thinking through where to put EV infrastructure, what does the growth look like in the region, so that we can make sure that our residents and our businesses have access to this infrastructure as we work on those EO80 initiatives, right, and get to ZEVs and all of those wonderful things. So we'll be putting out an RFP in the very near future to do that specific study. Next slide, please. This is our recycling and contamination program. So we were recently awarded through DEQ a $10,000 grant to help us work on some messaging. So in the lower right-hand corner, you see it's the Recycle More flyer. And actually, we're going to turn those into magnets. And we're going to mail them to all 6,353 folks that we serve through GFL, which is our provider for solid waste and recycling. We're going to mail them those magnets directly, and with the hope, right, of them putting it right on the refrigerator, so that when they go to make those decisions about what goes in what bin, because I think we do that, all of us do that every day, right? We can have that information right there for them. So this is something we're working on with this fantastic youth leadership group called DocNC, which stands for dedicated to our community, North Carolina. They are going to be coming up with our help, a communication strategy to include some social media, perhaps some videos and some other items, just to kind of help increase that messaging, not just with the magnet, but broader, so that we can, you know, the hope is to increase our recycling and reduce the contamination in those recycle bins. Next slide, please. So the master sustainability plan is super important. This will be the plan that really guides the overall program development for the sustainability program. It has 4 phases, as you see there. Presently, we're in the assessment and peer analysis phase, where we've got some really impressive spreadsheets going right now, where we're looking at what is our energy consumption, right? What's our electricity? What is the natural gas? How do we use water? All of those things, right? And then ultimately, we're going to be doing a greenhouse gas inventory. I'm a big believer in you can't improve what you don't measure. So we are measuring those things so that we can come up with, right, jumping to phase 4. Phase 4 is that goal setting, and that's really super important. You have to know where you are before you can start to create those goals. I've got an arrow next to that engagement campaign phase, because that's where the business and commercial entities come into this ask. We don't want to do this work in a vacuum, right? We want and need help, just like the speakers on the panel today. I consider you all partners of the towns and the sustainability program. We need business and industry to help guide this process as well. So I'm going to be making an ask, and if you're interested in supporting this work, we welcome your participation. The major buckets that we're working on are at the bottom of the page here: energy and water, waste recycling, natural environment, as well as the built environment, and then of course, transportation. So as I mentioned, this plan is currently in development. We started it just this last June, and we hope to complete it by early January of 22. Again, we are just in the process of beginning the engagement, and we welcome your participation in this. Next slide, please. So this is my big ask. We want your help in this process, depending on your bandwidth, of course. What we're doing is we're creating a number of different opportunities for you to engage with us. So if that means it's just maybe it's a quick Survey Monkey, right, where we just ask a couple of questions and you submit that back to us. Or in some cases, we may have Zoom calls, or we may have in-person focus groups. But if you're interested in helping us to kind of take a look at what does sustainability mean for the town, we would really like your participation. I should say that this initial sustainability plan is really the town looking at the town processes, programs, policies. You know, how do we use energy and transportation and for our buildings and facilities? As we look down the road a little bit more, we're going to be doing that community-wide, right? So we'll be looking community-wide, what do we have, what do we create for GHGs? And that'll be another opportunity for you to engage with us directly as well. So I just wanted to mention that too. Next slide, please. I did want to touch on, since Duke is on the call today and we consider Duke a really close partner of ours, I wanted to just run down the different ways that already Duke has been such a great asset to the program. They came in and did a rate alignment study for us. And that was just making sure simply that all of our buildings are on the right rate class, or in the right rate class. So that simple exercise saved us about $6,000 annually right out of the gate. So that was really nice and didn't take any work except for Duke Energy on Duke Energy's part. Secondly, we've been utilizing the Will Dan, which is a consultation service, to help us with energy design assistance for one of our new fire stations. And so I think Duke might talk a little bit more about this a little bit later on, but this is an opportunity for us to take a look at what are the different options, kind of an A, B, and C, right? And A is kind of the most simple, and C is the most complex energy efficiency opportunities that you can look at. And I'm really happy to say I think we're almost at a 3. We're almost in that C box. So we're really excited that we'll be able to utilize many of Will Dan's recommendations for that fire station. We touched on the solar rebate program. So Southern Energy Management helped us with that, which was really fabulous. And I'm going to give Jay a second to talk about that solar a little bit when I'm done with this, the items we're currently considering, Jay. We're also looking at some things called Smart Path, which is really just a funding mechanism to help us potentially integrate BAS townwide. There are smart city experts at Duke that we've been talking to about all kinds of different really innovative things, smart poles that can help us potentially moderate traffic and have Wi-Fi. They sound really sci-fi, some of these things, but Duke's been helping us look at some of those opportunities. And then finally, EV infrastructure, they might be able to support some of that work too. So I apologize. I was supposed to give Jay a few minutes to talk about solar. So Jay, I'm going to put you on the hook and let you do that now, if that's okay.
I can readjust with you any day, Kimberly. Thank you.
Thanks.
But I'll be brief. I feel like with the audience that we're addressing in Morrisville as the business community through the chamber, I want to highlight 2 points. One, this was a nonprofit. The town of Morrisville is a nonprofit, and they have a category within the Duke Solar Rebate under themselves, and that category has just a untapped amount of solar rebate money. So I would encourage churches, synagogues, Nonprofit foundations, anybody who owns a building and pays a power bill would benefit from examining whether or not this is for them. And to your point, Kimberly, y'all had an 8-year payback on your system. And I want to quantify that the Duke rebate shaved 3.4 years off of that payback as part of your fire station first one out of the gate. For a for-profit business, we're in the 4th of a 5-year Duke rebate program, so you still have time. We're literally in the midst of it this week, so you're missing the second half of 2021, but businesses have January of 2022 and July of 2022 to throw their name in the hat for a rebate program that has become more and more popular as the 4 years of the 5 have gone by now. More applicants have come in. Duke has expanded the benefit in a way that we think adds about 40% more headroom for applicants to get in there in the for-profit category. And like I said, the nonprofit category is untapped, unfortunately. Residential trends just about exactly where the for-profit is. They're very similar, and so that's a rebate. It's a lottery, so you can apply and find out if you get the funds before you commit to a project and know your ROI. But that's how we help the town of Morrisville on that project, and that is something that we do in our solar division and our building science division at Southern Energy Management. Identify what rebates are available and help people get a better ROI so they can pursue a sustainability initiative. And I don't know what else I would add about that. If there's any questions, please chat. I can go into more detail if we're hustling through things. Hit me up. But I don't know what else to add to that unless anybody else wants to chime in.
Well, perfect. Thank you, Kimberly and Jay, for providing some context about what all the great work that the town of Morrisville is going on. It seems like there's an awful lot you've gotten your arms around very quickly, Kimberly. So congratulations on all the good work and progress you've made. I have one more speaker, Tom, with Duke Energy, but I also have one more question. And so this is where your true colors get to come out, whether you're half glass full or half glass empty person. There's even a maybe and are undecided, so even better. So maybe it's not a half glass half full, glass half empty. Do you believe in a net carbon? Do you believe a net carbon future is achievable for North Carolina? So basically, do you believe we can reduce our carbon emissions at a rate where they're near zero? So yes, no, maybe, undecided. Cue the Jeopardy music. And the results are yes, only probably a very negligible amount of maybes. And so that's, there's no pessimists in the crowd. So that's awesome. So Tom, you're up. So anyway.
Thanks, everybody. Good to be here today. My name is Tom Delvesio, and I'm a business energy advisor and account manager for the town of Morrisville. I work as a part of a team that covers the Carolinas and the Midwest. And really, the discussion is very well knit with my group's purpose. And my group's purpose is really to understand and help our customers understand their energy use, is to try to provide resources and services to make that process easier, clearer, more understandable, but also balance that with the idea that businesses have expertise in what they do business in, and then therefore should be experts in energy unless they really choose to be. And so there's a sort of a self-selecting continuum of what's available. Now, a customer like the town of Morrisville has a wonderful person in Kimberly, to really focus in on this and can dig way down into all the options and resources and possibilities and try to string it together. And our role with a customer like town of Morrisville is to really try to put the pieces together, apply some glue, and really make it all stick into one comprehensive portfolio of support. That is not exclusive to the town of Morrisville. And I think you've heard a couple of different speakers talk about our design assistance program, which works on new construction projects, efficiency from the ground up, free service engineering, modeling that backs up a developer's current process and brings incentives and insight to bear. And that's just one of our many, many programs and services. And so I don't want to weigh you down with specifics. What I'll say is there's a resource for everyone who's on this call and anyone really in Morrisville or the larger community to access help from the utility and say, okay, you know, I have a goal. I want it to be cleaner, or I want to pay less on our operational costs, or I want to get a better handle on the billing stuff because we're always struggling and accounting is always having problems with that. We are here to support every one of those aspects, but really want to be underpinning what you do on a daily basis. It's not really about our ad, it's about how we string it together for you so that you can focus on what your core mission is. And I'll just bring a few things up that I've got a few notes here about some of the things that we've done with the town of Morrisville. And we mentioned things across the spectrum. We mentioned consulting on the front end before you even build a structure. We mentioned taking the existing infrastructure and saying, we're not even talking about energy. Let's simply look at the way that you use your energy and fit it against our different rate schedules. We said it when we get into the beginning, when we start the account, and we'll help you say, okay, we had assumptions back then, do they still hold up? You don't have to be an expert in that, but we will be able to provide information to support that. And, you know, and that goes for you as the customer, but it also goes for folks that you work with, folks like Jay, who's out there trying to put together really beneficial projects for customers and needs better insight into that core energy use and demand information that we can then work with him and his organization, either on the renewables or the efficiency side, to support what they're trying to do for their customers. I'd say we have, you know, we've got, it goes as far as efficiency, renewables, electrification. We've talked a lot about EVs in terms of just the cars you drive, but also fleets for the town of Morrisville. We're looking at fire stations, and we're also looking at the way that the town vehicles move around and do their business. There's a tremendous opportunity to take advantage of multiple technologies to make things cleaner, to make things more efficient, to really push the mission of the town forward. So again, we're trying to bring that all together. And I'll say basically, and this is the question that we always get, why would Duke want me to spend less money? Why would they want me to be more efficient? Why would they want me to, you know, put a renewable array on my home or my business and then not pay them as much for it? But really, from what we've talked about, we have very lofty goals for reducing the amount of energy that we use that's unclean, that's old resource. We've offlined a lot of coal assets, central generation. We need to replace that. And we need to replace that with not just one thing, but really a mixture, a garden of energy, a balanced network. And so when we put together all these programs and services and we work with the town, we work with different customers, what we're doing is we're helping you understand and do better. But by doing that, we're actually really, we're supporting ultimately the goals that we have for the organization too. So they're mutual goals when we support businesses and we support customers and residents of the town of Morrisville and beyond. And I want to stress that that's really a big part of what we do on a day-to-day basis. Lower cost of energy, clean energy, decreased time you waste dealing with us, billing, whatever. That really does translate over to our goals for improving the organization, for improving the cost, the cleanliness, the affordability, the reliability of the system throughout the Carolinas and beyond. So I'll wrap right now and just say that I really do appreciate the opportunity to come and just speak a little bit to the group. But we'd like to have just a few minutes in the end, because we've got a bunch of folks with a lot of different expertises here, and we've got folks that are joining us from the community to be a resource right here and right now if you have questions, or for later on if you need to schedule a meeting, because that's what we're here for too. So I'll close and say thank you very much for having us.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to use a little moderator's prerogative. So just roll with the punches. We had a few questions here. I'm going to pick out what I think is the most important question. I'm the moderator. I get to do this. Is there a top priority? And since we have this great group of experts here from Duke Energy and from Kimberly and her work across different organizations. And is there a top priority, and of course Jay as well, is there a top priority that should be at the forefront of a company's goals as it relates to sustainability and energy? What should be the first thing they're thinking about as it relates to sustainability and energy? And so I'll pause and I'll see if anybody wants to go first and take that. I'm also happy to take that too if there are no takers. So
Oh, go ahead, Marty.
I'm sorry. Just real quick, I'll jump in. I think one of the best things that we can all do is try to better understand maybe our energy usage and our energy portfolio. I mean, to Kimberly's point earlier, it's hard to, measure. I mean, it's hard to know what you're accomplishing or not accomplishing unless you know where you're coming from. So I would think that would be a first step that we could all take, is just to be more aware, more informed, and frankly, be engaged. So that would be my reaction.
I'll do a Duke plug here. You all have a really wonderful dashboard that will provide insights, at least I do, that tells me that estimates every month what my energy consumption is per thing. And it seems fairly accurate based off my knowledge. Yeah, there you go.
I take issue with that report every month when it comes out, to be honest with you. And
we also have it on the commercial side, so it's not just residential. So we've got a pretty well-developed platform on that side as well. Kimberly can speak to that maybe a little bit.
I'm sorry, Kimberly.
No worries. I think a really good first place to start, right, is energy efficiency. It's not quite as exciting as solar and batteries and all those other things, right? But it's typically the best ROI, right? So it's a really wonderful place to start with any sustainability initiative that you're working on. And then, if you can get your facility as energy efficient as possible, right, it makes all the other things more affordable, right? You'll probably have to have less solar as an example. So it's a really great place to start, and using your resources from Duke Energy and Tom's group and Marty's group to understand what incentives might you qualify for, right? There could be things that you are replacing that you could be getting a little bit of an incentive for to help you with those expenses. So I would love it if our business and commercial entities really pulled on Duke Energy to better understand what those opportunities are. Don't just pay that electricity bill and not think about it, right? Take some time, call your experts, and make sure you're getting what you need from them.
Agree. Thanks, Kimberly.
Anybody else want to throw in their 2 cents? Tom or Jay?
Yeah, I'll take just a quick stab. Definitely measuring and knowing your energy usage, but really it's like anything else in life. It's complicated. There's lots of different facets, lots of different ins and outs. And what you need to do is get started, first of all. And then 2, I think it's really important to have a plan that has short, medium, and long-term sort of vision to it. And so you should start with your lowest hanging fruit for sure, and take advantage of everything you can that's either available through some of your community businesses that do projects that are supportive, or through the utility, through incentives, but really to sort of understand that and start a plan that sort of builds on itself over time. And I'll also say that the technology is advancing so quickly too, that a lot of this stuff that you're trying to implement in terms of energy efficiency and renewables, a lot of that is going to become more packaged and more sort of, I think of the smartphone concept, where it's all sort of baked in there and it's accessible, and they've distilled it in a way that even the layperson can understand. A lot of that is coming through the utility space and through energy space in general. And so I'd say get up with some of that, know your consumer services and applications, try to sort of dabble a little bit and get your feet wet, and then rely on the experts once you're sort of past your comfort zone.
Absolutely. And so what I'll say is we're getting towards the end of our time here. I'm going to hand it over to Linda in just a second, but I know we didn't get to audience questions, and we were all really looking forward to the audience interaction and dialogue. But what I'll say is, if you have questions, just put them in the chat box as we close out the meeting, And I'm sure the chamber staff can send them around to all of us, and we can take a stab at answering or directing you into the right resource. And so, because that's the whole point of this, is to try to let you all know that there are resources out there that, you know, the energy world in North Carolina is collaborating with one another, trying to figure out how we, you know, from energy efficiency to increased renewable proliferation to how are we actually going to develop the technology to get to 100% carbon neutrality. I mean, there's going to be a lot of moving parts on this, and so we all have to work together. So I'll hand it over to Linda now, and thank you so much to all the speakers and all the guests who joined us for this conversation. And Linda, take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Emmett. And folks at Duke, I can assure you that you'll be hearing from the chamber, since we are a building owner, and I would love to reduce our energy bill. So we might be the first ones contacting you after this. So thanks so much to the town of Morrisville for being so progressive in energy conservation. And thank you so much, Duke, for being such a great partner in that project. Emmett, thank you again so much for moderating and for everything that the Clean Tech Cluster does. And also Jay from Southern Energy Management, we really appreciate you sponsoring this event, and for all of the work that you do with the town of Morrisville as well. So thank you, everyone. And again, we are happy to answer questions afterward. This event was recorded. We'll be sharing that, as well as the video that Kimberly had. So thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Bree. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Take
you all.
care.
Have a great rest of
Thank
your
you
day.
all. Take care.